welcome to the second viewing. Roll up your sleeves, pour yourself a drink. This is Off the Cuff. I'm Dan.
I'm Kyle.
Shaka bra.
All right, man, well, cheers. Cheers to a great episode. Have a nice little drink here, guys. We got a good one for you. This is kind of the talk of the town right now, I'd say. In terms of like the awards season, in terms of just movie releases in general, I think this is a movie people are talking about right now.
I think the most notable thing about this movie is that it kind of caters to all sorts of different crowds.
There's something for everyone, yeah. For everyone.
It really is. Whether you're guys like us, whether you're a couple, whether you're a 40-year-old single person going to the theater to check a flick, this movie caters to all audiences, which makes it kind of unique in a certain way.
And I guess this would be a good time to introduce the film of the week for this off-the-cuff segment. This is La La Land. Now, this movie is pretty much now widely released. It came out last year, technically, premiered at TIFF, and then also came out in like a late release. We saw it here, or I saw it here at the end of the year, last year. We've seen it a couple times now, actually, but we're not doing a second viewing on it just because, I don't know, it didn't fit right. We think we're just going to talk about it. Maybe we'll do it in the future, but at this point in time, we're just going to sit down and talk about our general thoughts on La La Land. So, As you may know, if you checked out our top 10 of 2016 lists, La La Land made our list. Both of our highly praised. It was number 3 on mine and number 2 on yours, I believe. Yeah,
number 2. Green Room was number 1 for me.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, enough said.
Highly regarded, yeah.
We both really do enjoy this movie. And I guess, I don't know what a good jumping off point in here is, but I think maybe I'm just going to ask you straight up, what's your favorite thing about this movie? Like, what was it that made you say, like, that it lived up to the hype, or kind of made you say, damn, that was a good flick?
Well, it turned the genre of musicals upside down for me. Because generally speaking, when I hear there's a musical in theaters and I hear it's good, I'm already skeptical because it's a musical, which is probably not a good mentality going into any movie, to be skeptical without having seen it.
But you've been burnt before. You've been burnt before. You haven't.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's fair, though. I think that's fair.
We've been told Why Him is a good movie.
Yeah, that's not true. I don't
It's
believe
not
that.
true.
I don't
it's
believe
not
that.
fucking true. I
actually fell asleep for most of Why Him, so I can't totally speak on this.
Oh, I was awake.
I fell asleep right up. Anyways. Yeah, no, it's interesting, right? Like a musical. Like, I will say, the first maybe like 10-ish minutes of this movie, I was just like, I didn't dislike it, but I was like, I don't know if I'm going to like this. Like, I don't know if I'm going to love this.
And that's one of the first things you told me, actually.
I was like, I'm not too sure what to think yet.
You saw this movie before I did, and I asked what you thought of it, or kind of vaguely. And you got to understand, there's a certain understanding between Kyle and I that you just don't give away details so easily. If I ask if a movie's good and Kyle has seen it already, he knows not to hype it up too much,
the hype
and
is
not
everything.
to fucking drop it down too much. It's kind of like he gives me his bare minimum thoughts, which is exactly what I'm looking for.
Yeah, we try to do that.
We go into the movie as least expecting as possible. So, that being said, I walked into this movie with you. It was your second viewing. It was my first. Excellent film. Totally. Like like I said, it turns musicals on its head for me. And I think I can relate to your statement saying that the first 10 minutes or the first 15 minutes are, I'm not sure if this movie's into you. That's because it starts on a highly musical note.
Right.
And though we are musical people, we're not necessarily
like
into musical.
People.
Yeah, we're not theater people. We're not
yeah.
necessarily into musical movies. Okay, so.
And I'm glad we definitely I saw it for 3 times. I guess I was 3 times technically. I'm glad we saw it again though, because I wanted you to see the opening scene. I kind of described it to you after the first viewing.
That's right.
But I really wanted you to see that because it does. It's kind of strange, but it sets the stage for the film. No pun intended. And I think that it works in a sense because you have to kind of get the idea of what you're getting yourself in for.
It starts and finishes on a similar note, which is always good. I like that sense of completion, or that kind of it began the same way it ended.
Yeah, some films really do that well. Like, I mean, I love the first frame as the last frame. That's always a little trope I love. That does happen in this movie, but I mean, the idea of something starting and ending in the same way is tight. I love that shit.
Or in the same theme. It's kind of like. It's seam to seam. I don't know. It makes it a little bit more complete for me. It's a nice touch. It's like I know you like hearing the name of a movie in a film as long as it's in the right place.
I don't know.
It's a similar idea, I think.
I think Collateral Beauty fucked that one for me.
Collateral Beauty definitely fucked that dude.
That was one of my favorite things.
What is this? Some kind of Suicide Squad?
That honestly, as much as I make fun of that, it's like a so bad it's good line. I'm okay with it to a degree, but the Collateral Beauty shit was just terrible. That was like 4 times in a minute. Anyways,
so
we're digressing here.
So a little bit of backstory. It was actually the first time I ever saw this movie was a day that Kyle and I had dedicated to seeing movies in general. So we watched 3 movies that day. First of which was
Office Christmas
Party. We saw La La Land next, and then we finished off the night with Why Him?
I guess, yeah. So La La Land was kind of like, it was our meat and potatoes. It was the main course.
Exactly.
It was our main course.
It was the one we were most looking forward to. We wanted to be totally on the ball to see it. Unfortunately, whatever nonsense we got ourselves into beforehand, we ended up being a few minutes late, so I didn't get to see the first minute or 2 of the movie.
It was a theater
which is why the second time I saw it was important to mention that.
Yeah, that's okay. I guess, yeah, so this is a film that I think was hands down my most anticipated for the year. This and Neon Demon was probably like the 2 I was really looking forward to. And that's mainly because the director of La La Land is Damien Chazelle, who directed the fantastic Whiplash. Like, I fucking love that movie. It's so good.
Oh, dude. And matter of fact, what's the bald guy from Whiplash? He's the
J.K.
teacher.
Simmons.
J.K. Simmons. Yeah, he shows up in this, and I love the scene at the end when he just instantly becomes lighthearted and sort of accepts what's happening inside of a song.
It's the flip of the switch at the end there, and we'll get to that in a minute maybe. But yeah, Damien Chazelle, like, that was his first feature, was Whiplash. And it was like...
Was it really?
Yeah, it was so tightly bound. Like, he did a short on Whiplash too. And he did a documentary, I think a music, like a jazz or something documentary.
Well, I gotta say, he's off to a fucking incredible start.
Well, and that's the thing. It's like, when I heard the basis for this film, that it was Damien Chazelle directing a musical with Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone, I was like, what the fuck? That sounds so strange, but perfect at the same time. And like I've said this before to other people. It's like, if there was one guy making movies right now to make a musical, it would be him, because he has his like genre or subject matter he likes to focus on is music. So I was like, fuck it, this is the perfect mix. And apparently he's been working on this for like 6 years or something, in theory, like just working.
It was actually insane, dude.
Yeah, so it's been in some form of production.
Yeah, how long was Mad Max in sort of
like the latest one, like I think 30 years technically.
30 years?
Yeah.
Insane. Yeah. So for a young director to have already been working on a movie for 6 years is super impressive, I think.
Well, yeah, and you can kind of tell too. Like, there's like especially the musical scenes are so, or like the song portions of the film. I don't know what you would call that exactly. Like the musical scenes, whatever.
Yeah,
the
musical scenes.
Anyways, those are so like intricately wound, like in terms of like the on the ball. Like, they're all in one shots, I'm sure too. Especially that first scene. I'm pretty sure that's one take.
Yeah. Well, the first scene is probably the most impressive.
They must have. If something went wrong, like, I would have been so pissed. You have to do it all over again.
Holy fuck! Well, there's like 45, 50 people in the beginning.
Cars, like it's unreal.
There's cars. There's honking. There's the fact that they've likely matched their voices in song to what they were singing on the spot. Everything pairs up really nicely. I think it's gorgeous. Weak point for this film, second time around, and I'm only bringing this up because we did see it. I saw it twice. You saw it 3 times.
Did you really see it twice? That was my question.
I did fall asleep close to the end, Kyle. Don't fucking bring that
About half an hour or so, but anyways, continue.
So, do you know that there's a song that takes place with Emma Stone and her roommates? It's shortly after the first song.
Yeah.
But she's in her apartment, and it's kind of
they kind of like set the stage for like what her life's like what her background is. Living in LA.
Yeah, exactly. And she's kind of on the cusp of potentially going to this party, which she ends up going to. Whatever. But I felt like the miming of that song was poor.
The miming, like you thought the audio was weird?
Well, I felt like of all the musical scenes and all the musical songs and sort of all the all that kind of stuff throughout the movie, the weakest part was that second song.
I don't know. Actually, like, to me, the portion when they're in the apartment, I agree with you. It's kind of weak, and like those characters are never elaborated on at all, really, for the rest of the film.
Yeah.
Except the one time they show up to her play, which is fine. I like that's cool. It's cool. Not a major gripe, but
Well, yeah.
the second half of the song when she's at the party, it's kind of this big crescendo that I love, and they're like walking on the street in the moonlight together and shit. I really do like the later half of the song.
Yeah.
And it kind of has this big like chorus, kind of like gang vocally sort of thing.
It ends
better.
abruptly and it
Yeah.
gets right into the story. It like sets the scene for the story. I
Yeah,
like that too.
yeah.
What I didn't like
The
was
apartment thing, though,
the
yeah, it was a little
apartment,
weird.
the apartment scene.
And I think you're right. Like upon another viewing about it, it's kind of like you do realize that those characters almost mean nothing, and they're kind of just a waste of time. And like there's not many people who actually sing in this film besides Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling, and John Legend, I guess. But like, so it's weird to have them sing. They have such major portions. But no, I agree. I mean, the thing is like what I noticed for sure was more so just like that the music is actually, I think, the best part of the film.
Which is almost incredible. I found myself listening to the soundtrack.
Well, the soundtrack's great. I mean, like I don't know, like the dialogue's fine. The dialogue's fine, and the narrative that's in the film is good. But it's, I don't know, everything kind of feels tropey in a way. Sometimes, like especially Emma Stone near the later half of the film when she's like getting mad at Ryan Gosling for pretty much nothing as far as I'm concerned. The guy leaves to her, makes her home cooked dinner, does what he can to be a good guy, and she's just kind of pissy for basically no reason.
She's mad because he is sacrificing something for her, which is kind of like, fuck off.
I mean, it goes back and forth because, to be fair, the only reason he decided to get a full-time job, I guess, is because he overheard a conversation with her and her mother. But in that conversation, she's literally defending him the whole time, saying, oh, he's going to figure it out. It's going to work out. Things are tight right now, but he's going to figure it out. She's really not bad-mouthing him that much, to be honest. Like, sure, maybe it's a alternative lifestyle, I guess you could say, but at the same time, like, she had his back on that, I'd say, overall.
You could say that he wanted to make sure that he was pleasing her family over pleasing her, and
but that's
lost his
I don't
way.
know. Like, again, I'm kind of being devil's advocate for both sides, but I still definitely felt like Emma Stone overreacted the fuck out of that, and it's kind of weird.
Totally.
But again,
I also think that happens in relationships. It doesn't matter who it's from. From the guy, from the girl, from the guy, from the guy, from the girl, it doesn't matter. It could happen.
Yeah, and I guess that's the relationship in this film is, I don't know. It's funny because I feel like it's very like by the books for a while, by the numbers, but then by the end of the film, you see what they've done together and what they've built together, and like it's heart-wrenching to see what happens at the end. We probably shouldn't spoil too much, maybe.
Well, that's something we mentioned on the second viewing, though, is we were waiting for that ending scene. We absolutely love this movie. We adore this movie. We think it's great. It turns musicals around for me to the point where I'm excited to watch something. I'm excited to go back and watch Rent and find out if it's really as shitty as I fucking remember.
I would still go in with the same expectations you currently have, but I see what you're getting at. I'm down with that. That's cool.
All I'm saying is this sparked the flame of musicals again for me.
Right.
It showed that music tied into film can very much work well as long as it's in the right, or as long as it's done well, really. I mean,
we brought up on the cast too, like Swiss Army Man's kind of score that kind of mimicked the actions that was going on, and we thought that was kind of a cool touch.
Right.
This almost is not quite similar. I mean, it's a stretch in a sense, but the songs in this film do pertain to the narrative and the story, and because of that, it's entertaining. It's progressing the story without derailing it. Because I mean, in a lot of musicals, it's like, okay, something's going on, and break for a song that might have something to do with it, but might not, or it just might be a cool pop song.
Right.
This is more so, hey, the songs are literally part of the film, and if you don't have the songs, you don't have the film.
Start to finish, though, that's the thing. It's like it's not as if the song starts on a narrative that happens to pertain to the movie and ends on a totally different note.
Right.
Start to finish contains exactly what you need to progress in the film. So it's perfect. It fits very well. I really think like you said, if there's anyone to fucking do it, it's Damien Chazelle.
Oh, the guy's killing it. I mean, they just won 7 Golden Globes for this film.
That's a world...
It's a world record.
That's a Golden Globe world record, which, I mean, congrats. I'm not sure it means that much.
Golden Globes mean absolutely nothing. We've talked about maybe covering that. We're not going to.
No.
But Yeah. So I mean, obviously, it's highly regarded. Like his directing is great. And I brought this up on the best of as well, and that's not necessarily my original thought. I will quote my friend Michael for talking about this. Is kind of saying that if this was his fourth film, how would have been in a way. It's like it was so big, it was so grand, it felt like a grand opus. It's kind of like those little things we're talking about, like, the characters in the apartment, and like the fact that maybe it was leading up to a big finish and all we care about is the finish. Like just these little things. While the movie is great, and again, it's a fantastic film, it would be interesting to see how he would have made this maybe as his third or fourth feature, where he's already an experienced great director, but it's kind of like, you see what I'm getting at?
I see what you're getting at, and it is a good point, but it's almost unfair to say that, though, right? Because you could say the same thing about a lot of directors. I mean, what if this great concept of a movie that this person came up with in his second year of directing did that on his fifth year of the directing?
I guess what I'm just
saying... It could have been better, it could have been worse, it could have been different in so many different ways. It's almost unfair to say that, right? I think what's really important is to take it how it has been presented to us from the perspective of the person that has created it in the world that he is now. It would be unfair to say... I
don't know. I think you can still comment on the film as it is in this sense, though. I think that's still fine. Like, the film as it is, and I think what I'm trying to say is I think the film is honestly a little bit too big for him right now. I think the film was a huge production. It was, I just think it's too big for him. I think there's these little things that normally in a regular film wouldn't be that apparent, but since the film is on such a huge scale and it's using this intricacy and it seems so perfect, the imperfections stick out more than they should.
But that's what might stick out to a critic, but that's also the things that
we're critics, bud. We're here.
That's true. But
fuck that's the regular people. We don't care about you.
That's also what makes our lives really exciting, because it's like, wow, this concept is so big for this director to take on in his second film that what the fuck is he gonna do next?
But that's the thing. It's like, I wish this was his next thing, because it's like, how are you gonna make it bigger?
I know, but maybe his next thing is even bigger than this. I mean, we're going to be talking about it next year, right?
Only time will tell. But I think what I'm trying to say is I would like to see a refined version of La La Land. Is what I'm trying to get at. I would like a refined version of this
rather than taking big leaps, he took a little bit more of a baby step.
Exactly.
No, I hear you.
Actually, no, I think the opposite. I think he took a big leap. I almost wish he would have took a baby step.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I think that would have been a stronger. I mean, like, again, like I'm a bit of a cynic in the sense, but I do want to reiterate. I love this film. I just think that it's almost like potentially could be like the best film ever made in a way. Do you kind of know what I'm saying? Like, this is a classic right here.
Yeah.
But there's just a little things that don't make it that harsh for me, because this last time we watched it together, man, like, I was waiting for that end scene. I was waiting to see everything come together and kind of feel something and be like, fuck, that's good. And I was just kind of waiting.
Well, I'm not going to lie, on the second time around, it was a lot easier for me to fall asleep.
I'd say.
Which I did.
Multiple times.
That could have been because of the beers beforehand. It could have been because multiple different reasons.
But, either way, I think it's a film that's going to... It's going to appeal to everyone, and that's what we brought up opening of this episode. And I think, and that's kind of the point we want to drive home.
Yeah, exactly, and that's the most beautiful part. Is I walked in to see my boss the other day, and because she knows I'm part of this podcast, she asked, "Yo, Dan, what movie should I fucking see in theaters?" And I said, La La Land, hands down, because of her age and her demographic and the things that appealed to her. I felt that this was the best fit.
Right.
And I said, go see La La Land. And she said, it's funny you say that because, my 60-year-old best friend had just recommended me La La Land as the best movie in theaters. And so I think that's very, I think it's important to mention that, a mid-20s person and a 60-year-old person can relate in thinking that this movie is the best movie to see in theaters right now. And I think for the most part, at this time, and pretty much by the time this is released, that will remain true.
Oh yeah, hands down. I think we're gonna see this film get more and more awards, more accolades. It's gonna stand the test of time. I do believe that, because it's a strong cast, strong performances. Emma Stone, never really disliked her, never really loved her. Pretty lukewarm on her.
However,
she's great in this film.
Ryan Gosling did almost step up from where we were used to, I think.
This is kind of Ryan Gosling, honestly, in his like prime for me. This is like him just fucking being a really strong male lead. I honestly think that.
To me, Emma Stone reflects maybe the director in her young and naive sense. Her big leaps and stuff like that, where Ryan Gosling reflects the established actor.
Well, there's a level of maturity. There's a bit more maturity to his character.
Of the film, almost. Yeah.
Yeah, and I've seen Emma Stone in like things for years. Like, it's been 10 years ago, Superbad came out. That was the first thing I ever saw her, and I'm pretty sure it's her first film. I'm pretty sure I looked this up.
We did look this up. Yeah, we fact checked this not too long ago.
She's been in like some other TV shows before that, but first feature was Superbad. And that's a fucking all-time favorite of ours, pretty much.
She did well on that, and she's done well ever since. I'd like to see her do even better. I would say that Emma Stone is a great example of a person who's taken baby steps in a negative way, or maybe that's too harsh.
Not in a negative way, just maybe not big enough steps.
Yes, not big enough steps. So there's baby steps and there's baby steps, right? She's taking baby steps,
and then
she's taking infantile.
She was like
steps.
baby step. Anyways, okay. I see what you're saying. Actually, we talked about this a little bit more on the Birdman podcast. If you want to go back, listen to that. We'll link it there. You can see what we're talking about on that.
Exactly.
And I think but just overall, the acting is great, and their chemistry is sharp, and they work together on Stupid Crazy Love, great romantic comedy, and Ryan Gosling plays like the kind of more like super cool, almost scummy to a degree, like cool guy. And
a little bit more of a realistic cool guy, I think.
Well,
it's a little bit more reality.
By the end of the film, he has a really rich character, I feel, in that film particularly. But in this one, it's more subdued, and it's more just kind of the actual...
Oh, sorry, yeah, I'm talking about this film.
Oh, okay, I was talking about Super Crazy Love. No, I agree. I think this is more realistic, 100%.
Yeah, this is more realistic, where Stupid Crazy Love is kind of like...
over the top to a degree.
Yeah, it's exaggerated to prove a point and to make an emotion become more apparent.
Yeah, and that's fine.
That film does it.
That's fine.
Well.
I'm just saying that I think it's like they kind of already proved that they work well together in that film, and it translates in this as well. La La Land, it's a good movie, and I think I was it really, I don't know, my expectations were kind of incredibly high. I'll have to admit, and it met them. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, it's funny that they're so high because you tried so hard to keep them low.
Oh, I really did. Well, there was no way. It was just like even the thought of it was like almost like just a dream idea. It's like this is perfect. Like great cast, great director, and a really interesting and I would say like fresh like film to put out in 2016. Like there's not many I don't know what good musicals are coming out right now. Like none. I guess is the only one. I guess there's Sing in the animated film if that counts. I don't know. I haven't seen that, but anyways, digression. I'm just saying it lived up to the hype, and it's just really baffling to me how great a film can honestly take choreography and take planning, and the idea of the one take is so prevalent now, but this film like really, really achieves that and takes it to new heights. And
well, imagine how difficult it is to put together a cast of, upwards of 30 people to shoot a dance scene or like the scene that this movie opens up on.
I'm curious about the history of this film. I would like to see some behind the scenes shit because Whiplash, the short, came out in 2013. The feature came out in 2014. And then we got La La Land near the end of 2016. That's not a lot of time in between. 2 years? It's really not.
Damien has been working his fucking ass off as far as I can tell.
That's what I'm saying, and I would like to see some of that, and maybe that would even add to my experience of the film or my appreciation of the film.
And it would be cool to know where he came from, because there's a chance maybe this guy has been working on the script and the screenplay for these two films for years. Well, who knows, right?
From what I understand, Whiplash was kind of his like your first album when you compare it to a band. Like your first album is usually the collection of all the songs you worked on for most of your life, and then you're fine and you put out an album. It's your debut album. That's kind of how I see Whiplash as, and then this was definitely not a sophomore slump. It was the comeback of the year. That's all I got to say.
It was like you said, it was a big leap.
It's a big leap, and I don't know.
I think there's a lot of successes to it.
I'm not trying to say it's a bad film because of this leap. I just think it's something to consider. I really want that as my portion to take home from this. Just think of like the idea of a director making a huge grand opus film like this is his Godfather, in my opinion. At this point, it's like it's such an interesting idea, interesting way to make a film. It would just be interesting to see it, I guess, if he had more time or if he had more experience with other films, or refining it. And I don't want that to discredit the film that we have and we can experience today.
Totally.
But it's an interesting thought.
Well, I think a good example would be if someone was fucking taking a jump at the Olympics. If they landed on the next step sloppily, but they were young and they came a long way, we would cheer for him and say, hey, wow, you came a super long way. Congrats to you. But if an established jumper made the same jump and did it very clean, it would almost be a natural progression.
Right.
So I guess what we'd like to see is a natural progression. What we got was a big leap.
It's a big leap.
Not that necessarily it was sloppy.
No.
Not that it was
Sloppy's
poorly
not
done.
true, no.
It was a fantastic film. But hey, Damien, let's
chill for a minute.
Let's just refine our skills.
Well, see, now that's the thing. That's the thing. It's like, what's the next film going to be?
I personally like that he's taking risks. I think that, hey, take some more risks. Take safer risks.
Yeah, I guess it just.
Do you know what I mean?
It gets to the point where now you're wondering, like, are you gonna fucking go big again in a safe way, maybe, or a more refined way, or is he gonna scale it back? Like, what's his next?
Well, the thing is, if he's going to last in Hollywood and in this market and in this layer of popularity, I think he's got to play it safe a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't think he necessarily has to step back.
Well,
I don't think stepping back is a bad move. I think that he would have to maybe take a little bit less of a risk on his next film and maybe play a little closer to home, a little bit more than what he's used to. Themes and music would be obviously a strong suit. Let's make another a music-themed movie, or a movie that centers around the theme of music and tone it down, taking a lot of new elements into La La Land that didn't exist in sorry, what's the movie called? I can't remember.
Whiplash.
Whiplash.
Yeah. I guess I think you're right. He's gonna have to, but I do think honestly it might have maybe in hindsight been a better move to do that for your second film. Tone it down and then come back with a fucking heavy hitter.
Right.
But anyways, besides the point, we're running out of time here a little bit. Honestly, highly recommend this film. It's in theaters pretty much everywhere right now. Check it out. The Academy Award nominations come out on the 26th. I'm sure it's going to get some more love there. Anyways, I'm Kyle.
I'm Dan.
Shaka Bra.